أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. O my Lord, expand for me my chest, ease for me my task, and remove the impediment from my speech so they may understand what I say. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ramadan FM. It's 87.7 FM, DAB station 9, I think. This is the fifth and final show of Ramadan this year. I hope it's been really, really great for you all. My name's Aasiya, and I'm here to present a show called Your Hospital's A Place to Pray. I'm going to remind you of the telephone numbers that you can WhatsApp and text us on. So if you'd like to text in, it's 077 488 55 055. That's 077 488 55 055. We have WhatsApp and text up today, so please do get in touch, interact with us. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to call up and speak to me or my guest, it's 0116 4822 086. 0116 4822 086. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube today, so please get in touch with us that way if you'd want to. You can leave your comments on Facebook, or you can use the live chat function on YouTube. And you should hopefully be able to see me on both of those today. Jazakallah for everyone who's tuned into my shows over the years. This is the final one for this month, but I do hope to be back next year. I hope they've been useful and I hope they've been interesting. I have got a guest with me today, Farvinder. Hi.
Hi, Aasiya.
Hiya. You were in your own world there. Yeah. It's okay. Do you want to introduce yourself to the listeners, a little bit of background, what you do, and then we'll go into talking about the Spiritual Care Centre?
Yeah, no worries. Hi all. My name's Farvinder. A implementation manager I work for around banking and insurance. And today I'm just here to kind of share my story with my late fiancée, Manny, and get some fundraising across for our new spiritual centre at Leicester Royal Infirmary.
Amazing. So, for those of you who don't know, I've been presenting a show called Your Hospital's A Place to Pray for the month of Ramadan in 2023. It's a appeal that we've got at Leicester Hospital's charity at the moment to fundraise for a refurbishment and the build of a new St. Luke's Chapel and a spiritual care centre which is inclusive of all faiths. Farvinder very kindly lent us his story back in 2022, wasn't it, Fav, I think?
Yeah.
Spring of 2022, he lent us his story with his time in the hospital with his late fiancée, Manny, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but Fav does a lot of work in Manny's name and tries to keep her memory and legacy alive, much like I do with Yahya and the story that you know about me and my little boy. So in terms of the schedule of the show today, we're going to talk a little bit about Manny, about her journey, about her story, and then we're going to go in to talk about the impact that the Spiritual Care Centre had on Manny and her life in the hospital during the time when she was there. Fav, can you explain your journey with Leicester's Hospitals in a brief outline of Manny's story for us?
Yeah, I'll try and stick to the points, but yeah, it was back in 2015 in May. Manny received the diagnosis that she's kind of got leukemia, and I guess for both of us at the age of 21, our cancer journey started from there, and life kind of flipped to what it was supposed to be, and it was all about kind of hospitals and chemo, checkups and appointments, and basically living in hospital actually. So we kind of classed Leicester Royal Infirmary as our second home, where we made loads of friends with loads of the staff, different patients, all from different kind of backgrounds, religious faiths, but we just became one big family, really, throughout her 4.5-year cancer journey that she kind of had at the Leicester Royal Infirmary. And Manny, unfortunately, she kind of passed in October 2019. After kind of years and months of treatment, it was time for a bit of a rest for her, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's it's kind of bittersweet because it's heartwarming to see that you're still carrying that candle for her and trying to keep that legacy of hers alive and you know, doing so much in her memory. Like we were talking about just at the start of the show, you're doing various fundraising activities over the course of the year for Macmillan. You know, you do lots for us as well. And at the same time, it's sad because you made, memories in this place, and now Manny's not here to enjoy that with you, sadly. But, sometimes these things do happen. Could you share with us, Farv, if you don't mind, a couple of the encounters that you might have had with some of the staff on oncology? Do you have a particular story that you remember that you could tell us?
Yeah, definitely on the oncology wards, kind of from day one, or shall I say hour one, actually, they were all really welcoming, the nurses and doctors. And Manny's first nurse that kind of opened the doors to us in the ward, Joanna, Manny actually wanted her to be her bridesmaid. So that's how close they kind of became.
That's really lovely.
But I guess the story is kind of Manny kind of almost became their assistant.
Okay.
Because she always wanted to be in charge of kind of the obs.
Yeah.
She's talked to the nurse and doctors about the kind of makeup routines she loved. And all of that. And her kind of favourite nurses, I guess, were kind of, she had another nurse called Charlie.
Yeah.
Gita, but there were loads of them really, and the list could kind of go on.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the care they gave. It wasn't just the title of a nurse.
Yeah.
It was just the ongoing relationship with family.
Yeah.
And I still keep in touch with some of them now.
That's really lovely.
So we still do a bit of charity work and donate around Christmas, Easter and stuff.
Yeah.
For the kids that unfortunately are going through the same pain
on
that
the
cancer
children's
brings.
cancer ward.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's obvious that, cancer and anything surrounding that is very close to your heart in terms of, making a difference within that area. We're here to talk about the Spiritual Care Centre today. So can you give me and the listeners a bit of a brief idea or kind of an overview of how that started? How did your encounter or Manny's encounter with the Spiritual Care Centre at the LRI start? And what did it bring for her?
Yeah, definitely. So I think me and Manny, we've always kind of been quite close to our religion, Sikhism, over as we've kind of grew up. You kind of fall in and out of it in this Western world, but we've always been close to it. And I guess it kind of, in the hospital, so before we'd kind of gone into the hospital for check-ins, we'd always go to the Gurdwara.
Yeah.
But then we kind of, I think the chaplains kind of just do ward rounds, don't they? So by kind of chance, we fell into one, and Gurdwara basically came over and he just had a very open chat with us for the first time. And it was, you kind of, I guess someone from your community just kind of feel a connection.
Yeah.
As you kind of do. And from there, we kind of just had regular visits with him. There was the Leicester Nagar Kirtan walk, one of the summers whilst Manny was around, and we kind of met him out there as well. But it was just kind of someone else that listens, shall I say, but you don't really know them personally.
Yeah. But
because of religion, you're connected to them, yeah.
Is it a thing where it's easier to talk to somebody who's not related to you or like a really close friend or anything like that because you feel they would listen to you without judgment? The kinds of questions that you might have at that particular point in your life, the really existential questions that would have been probably running through Manny's mind at the time. Things like, why me? Why is it happening to me? Or why is it that I'm here, that I've gone into remission, but other people haven't? Those kind of really valuable, really intricate questions that you wouldn't necessarily feel the most comfortable asking the people you're closest to.
No, absolutely on that point. And one of the chaps, unfortunately, Ishmael, he passed away.
Okay.
Manny had kind of gone into remission at this point. So we seen him about 2 weeks before he passed. And a few weeks later, Manny relapsed. So that was always one of the questions, why me?
Yeah.
And there's not really an answer to that from any aspect. But having that question with someone from a community, it was kind of it's just a different way of thinking, shall I say, that we're not in control of these things. We're allowed to feel sad.
It's a very, very difficult position to be in, isn't it? It's, I think, where your entire world is flipped upside down because of a diagnosis like cancer, and you don't understand what's happening 9 times out of 10 because you're not going to research on leukemia or on any kinds of cancer if you don't have it. So, unless you or somebody you know and you're really close to that person, you would probably know a little bit about it. But at a point where you were 21, did you say?
Yeah.
Neither of you probably had any kind of idea of, it's cancer, but you don't know the ins and outs of the treatment plans and what life expectancy looks like. And
definitely, I think when we first heard the diagnosis leukemia, because that's just the word, we thought it was a cold.
Wow.
We didn't actually realise it's a blood cancer, and it was kind of, what's the next steps from here? And then they said, we'll transfer you to an infirmary where they'll talk about chemos and treatments, and that's when it hit.
So where did Manny get her diagnosis?
It was actually in Glenfield, because she kind of had breathing problems for a few months, so they thought something's with her heart. And then as they did the x-rays and tested some fluids, they realised it's leukemia cells building up in the background, causing all of these difficulties.
Wow.
So then within about 48 hours, we transferred to an infirmary, and then it kind of, as you say, life flipped over, really.
Yeah, completely on its head.
That was it.
And you were both very young. 21 is very young to have to deal with such a life-changing and life-altering situation that you were presented with. How did you cope, if you don't mind me asking?
A valid question. I guess for me, kind of coping, me and Manny had an open that it's kind of our cancer. She's going through the kind of physical elements. I'll be the kind of eyes and ears, ask the questions, the doctors, the side effects, that kind of stuff. And I guess to kind of answer that, I just kind of went with the flow, as did Manny. Like, we didn't know what these chemos were, the long-term side effects it'd have on her, as on her body, physically, emotionally. We just thought it's almost like an antibiotic. It's just doctors said, this is what we recommend. You signed the yellow consent form. I'd be a next of kin, I'd sign it, and we just signed that yellow form loads of times, and that was it until she went in and out of remission. It was a couple of times? 4 times out in the 5 years. So it was over the summer period, she'd kind of relapse. Okay. And it almost became habit that let's not book anything for May, June, July. Really? Because the cancer might be back. Wow. You kind of pause life a little bit. Is there a medical grounding to that, or was that just the way it happened for Manny? Just the way it happened for some reason. She was always all right, kind of September onwards. March, April, she'd start getting symptoms, but the bloods were always clear. Right. But she'd feel in herself, something's not right here. Yeah. And then one of the appointments, it's always like, we can see a few cells swimming around. Oh. And then we lost loads of kind of patients. And I think as the years went on, we kept our courage up. But I knew for Manny, she kept asking, why am I still here? Because there's a little girl called Eve who passed. Right. Ishmael. And there's just loads of kids and families you make relationships with. Because the ward was kind of split between young adults and children. Yeah. And the kitchen was in the middle where you'd kind of interact with the parents. And you build relationships, and then next thing you know, that room's locked off with tape around it, and you kind of know. Yeah, something's happened here. Yeah. Wow. Did you yourself seek any chaplaincy support during that time, or was that support, or was Manny the one to want to seek that for herself? We kind of both just used to kind of sit in at it, really. Like, Qadar would kind of come round, do his ward rounds, and it wasn't anything ever official that once a week. It was kind of just, he'd be walking, we'd sometimes have a chat for hours. Yeah. And sometimes it wasn't even about the cancer. It might be something in the community or something completely random, or... Yeah. And it was just that you kind of connected through community, but you don't know each other. Yeah, yeah. On a personal level. And it just gave us that bit of hope, I guess. I know for Manny, definitely, because we used to go to the Gurdwaras and stuff a lot. Yeah. We started going to the church because one of the mums said it was just a different religion. Yeah. Kind of have that, and kind of in the Hindu community, we went to the mandir. Yeah. And then one of the kind of hospital patients, they brought Manny some Zamzam water. So we tried loads of different things, and I think Qatar was kind of the enabler to say religion's just all, we have our different religions, but we are just one, and we're all trying to pray and trying to be here. Basically, we can't answer certain questions, and no matter what faith you follow or no faith, there's no kind of answer to some of the questions, unfortunately. But this is how you should think or try to think, and it was just nice hearing that again. A refresher of it all, shall I say? Yeah, that's really, really nice. I'm just going to remind everyone of the text and WhatsApp number. So we're live on 87.7 FM. This is Ramadan Radio. This is my 5th and final show of the month of Ramadan. And I've got with me here Farvinder Lal, who is talking about his late fiancée Manny and her encounter with the Spiritual Care Centre at the Leicester Royal Infirmary. We'd love for you
to get in touch with us, it's 077 488 55055. That's 077 488 55055. You can use that number to text or WhatsApp in. We'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like to call up and speak to either me or Farv, then it's 0116 4822 We're also live on Facebook and YouTube if you'd like to watch along while you listen. So we've just heard about Mani's encounter with leukemia. Farv has been taking us through her journey and her story, how she ended up getting the diagnosis through to speaking to Gardar from the chaplaincy team at the Leicester Royal Infirmary, or all the hospitals, should I say, because Gardar does work across site. I have this note written down, and I do want to ask you it, I think. There's a really, really beautiful story that you told my colleague Liz, who's no longer with the charity now, but you told Liz about Mani. It was about a particular bathtub and her having a soak to ease her aching body after the grueling hours of chemo. There was a picture on the wall there, and Mani mentioned something to you about that. Can you share that story with us?
Yeah, definitely. So there was a bathtub in Ward 27, in the young adults ward, in the Windsor building, actually. And kind of when patients needed a soak or just to relax from all the pains they'd get with the chemo and the radiotherapy, and the nurses would often kind of run a bath and stuff. And that was kind of Mani's chill out area, if you like, but just for herself. When she couldn't leave the hospital and pamper herself or do what she'd normally want to do, it was kind of a switch off mode. And one of the walls of that bathtub basically is just a massive beach. So the whole wall is just a beach, clear water, white sands. And we'd sometimes just look at it and hope one day, basically, when all this chemo and stuff was over, we'd be able to kind of escape to that and just live life as we used to, kind of, because she used to be an air hostess. So we used to travel naturally quite a bit.
So that's a huge change anyway, isn't it? From being up in the skies, literally, to being grounded almost. I take it after her diagnosis, she wasn't working? No,
she wasn't. She quit British Airways about 6 months before the diagnosis because she was advised by GPs that it might just be the jet lag and this is why you're getting pains.
Right.
And breath issues and stuff. We didn't really ever believe it, but you kind of just think, okay, maybe it is.
Yeah, if it helps, then why not give it a go?
So she kind of just started a local admin job in Leicester, but she absolutely hated that.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's very different.
Her goal was always to get back into flying, but it never kind of...
Never happened.
Never happened for her, no.
So that story... it is incredible because the Spiritual Care Centre, and Farv knows the plans for it. There's plans for there to be a immersive video wall, right? And it's amazing that you're here talking about it and about that mural that was on the wall of the white sandy beach and, the clear water, and wanting and hoping to be able to get to a different place in a different time. And that's what we're hoping to bring to the Spiritual Care Centre with the immersive video wall that we've got. So, if you want to put on a particular beach in a particular part of the world and just sit there and enjoy a moment's peace with that, then you can. If you wanted to put on, a religious site, somewhere like Mecca or somewhere like the Golden Temple, or, a mandir that's important to other faiths, you can do that as well. And it's about making sure that there's availability and things there for everyone, for people with all faith, no faith, for people's spirituality. It's simple stuff like if you come into the hospital as a patient and you have young children at home who can't spend a lot of time with you because you're in the hospital all the time, get all of them together and have a movie night on this massive cinema screen thing. And Gardari is very big on, the family unison and the unity and community, as you know. And he has this incredible idea for I'll go and buy popcorn and chocolates and sweets for the kids, and we can, stick Lion King on or something, and they can sit and watch. And it's those things that people miss out on, and you'll be able to probably testify to the same, that when one of you is in hospital, from a couple like you and Mani were, when one person's in the hospital for weeks and weeks at a time, it takes a toll on the relationship. sometimes in a positive way, sometimes in a negative way, but it's definitely tiring. Did you find that? Did you find that it got difficult at times?
It definitely did, because I think Manny always felt, because she was very ambitious, we've always kind of been very ambitious, and we've known each other since nursery, so we've always pushed each other to kind of do better than where you are. Even if you reach that top spot, okay, what's next? And I was kind of happy with where I was. Manny was doing well, but she always felt her life's at pause, and it's now putting a pause on mine. And it's one of those things, no matter how much you kind of explain,
that it's not.
It's not, because that wasn't us to be sitting inside hospitals. It was either travelling, it was either let's get better jobs or push ourselves or businesses. So we were happy where we were, but it did take its toll, as you say. But I think back to your point around the kind of family movie nights. So there was another room in the ward, what they call the chill out room on Ward 27, and families would do that, including us, where there'd be about 8-9 of us friends, and we'd put a movie on, get popcorn, and it kind of just takes you away from the treatment rooms.
A bit of normality, isn't it? That's what you're looking for.
That's it.
It's a very clinical environment in the hospital, and you know, you've seen a lot of it in you know, the few years that Manny was in and out of there, but it's clinical and it's kind of, it's very boring. You know, I work for the trust, but it is, as a patient in the hospital, it can be very boring. It's not supposed to be entertainment, but it can, you know, it takes its toll on you. And if you have these little pockets of areas where you can just go and, you know, try and find a bit of normality in something, like I know that Gurdar's got plans to have like yoga classes and meditation and stuff like that in this multi-faith space, multi-purpose space, that where the immersive video wall and things are going to be, which is great. Imagine, you know, as a patient, you can go in the morning to go and do a bit of meditation or to join a class or to do an activity, or, you know, treatment permitting. Medical treatment will always be the first and foremost thing of a patient in the hospital, but it's that holistic approach of, is your mental well-being looked after as much as your physical health is being looked after? And Gurdar's very big on making sure that happens, and I think it's important.
It definitely is. And again, as you mentioned, that we used to kind of do, so Manny used to kind of also like doing Reiki, yoga classes. So we used to do all of that outside of the hospital, actually. So it would definitely, patients like Manny and carers like myself, it'd make a massive, massive difference. I think even just the wall itself would, because it takes you back to, it gives you a bit of hope. Or switch off from the kind of, as you say, the boring hospital, which is... but additional stuff like that, yoga classes and spiritual stuff for well-being, or even just to switch off, I think it'll make a massive, massive difference. Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm going to tell everybody about the fundraising now, and then we'll continue talking about lovely Manny and her story. So Radio Ramadan FM this year are fundraising for the Spiritual Care Centre. The Spiritual Care Centre is there for everyone who goes into the hospitals, whether you be a patient, whether you be a member of staff, whether you be patient's family. And the idea is to create a Spiritual Care Centre at the Leicester Royal Infirmary that's used by staff, patients and the community as a place to reflect and pray, and it forms part of the healing process for the community and for... there's a lovely message that's come in. Sorry, I'm going to read this out and then I'll go back to the fundraising link. It's so nice to hear from Farvinder himself. I first heard of Manny's story through a friend of mine who worked on the wards at that time. Sending my love and prayers always. That's really lovely. So we've got hospital staff listening in then, it seems.
Thank you.
So if you'd like to support this year's fundraising pledge of £10,000 that Ramadan FM have put forward, then please go to www.justgiving.com/page/Ramadan Radio 2023. And if you'd like to fundraise with Team Ramadan FM, so you can set up your own fundraising in line with Team Ramadan Radio, then it's justgiving.com/team/Ramadan Radio 2023. We are in the final maybe penultimate day of Ramadan now. So please do dig deep and be generous with your donations towards the Spiritual Care Centre. It's an important space for the community, not only for people who are in and out of the hospitals, but generally for staff. You know, Farvinder will probably be able to testify to this, and I know that I've seen it, where surgeons are literally popping into the spiritual care center, saying a prayer or reading their salah or doing whatever it is that they're doing in there, coming out and saving people's lives. It's a big deal. I see it often. I use the prayer rooms at all 3 sites if I'm about. I'm sure Farvinder and Mani popped over to the prayer rooms at the infirmary when they were there. They are very tired and they do need more inspiration and a bit more creativity to liven them up and make them fit for purpose, to make them to make them reflective of the people who are there. Abs Khalifa, we need more places like this at the Leicester General. You're right, we do. And if we can make this a success, there's no reason why we can't then put forward a plan to do that to all of the other sites. There's prayer rooms available and there's facilities available at all 3 sites, at all 3 hospitals, so the Glenfield, the Leicester Royal Infirmary and the Leicester General. All of them are a bit tired. We're focusing our efforts on the Leicester Royal Infirmary to begin with, because that is the hub and the centre of where the majority of the treatment and the majority of our staff are, because it's the bigger of the 3 sites. But there's nothing to say that we can't put forward plans if it's needed for the other 2 sites following on from this, and take inspiration from it to have that over at the other 2 as well. Farvinder, back to Mani and her story. The chaplaincy service and the way in which she utilised it, did she seek out Gardar's help other than his ward rounds and that kind of thing? Would she actively seek to speak to a hospital chaplain?
Yeah, definitely. She kind of had his WhatsApp number, so she would sometimes say, can you kind of come up? So even if I'd kind of be at work sometimes, and she just had a bad day with chemo, slept a lot, she'd kind of message me a few hours later saying, I've had a good chat with Gurdar, I feel happy again.
Yeah.
I just feel buzzed up of life again, and I want to get back to focusing on my business plans, or whatever it kind of was that, the pain of kind of chemo and stuff kind of shadows away. She kind of have a chat with him and kind of get a bit more life in her again, I think. So she definitely kind of seeked it out. And for her kind of final few months of treatment, we actually went to a different hospital.
Okay.
Over in London. And they didn't have any kind of facilities at all like that. So it was something she wanted to see.
Yeah.
It was definitely different. Like the local Gurdwara was about 45 minutes away.
Wow.
So it was a kind of, when we were leaving home, do we go to the hospital or do we go to Gurdwara, then to the hospital? Probably take about 2 hours, traffic.
London traffic,
so it made a massive difference. I think that's one thing me and Mani always said, we're very fortunate to be in Leicester.
Yeah.
And a lot of patients of all backgrounds say it of Leicester, because there's facilities everywhere, from mosques, mandars, churches, gurdwaras, that they're everywhere. But again, bringing it to the hospital is just a whole nother meaning, basically.
Yeah, I agree.
The chaplaincy team,
Yeah. So is it that at the London hospital there wasn't a chaplaincy service, or there wasn't prayer rooms, or both?
I think both. Not that we explored it too much. So kind of, because there was no treatment left in Leicester, we kind of seeked out for private treatment. Over in London.
So it wasn't a local NHS hospital; it was a private.
Yeah. So about 5 months we were there, but I don't think they probably just didn't exist. They did have what they called kind of care rooms, which I think probably in the same wavelength of the spiritual care centres, so we can kind of just switch off.
Yeah.
Which were nice. We visited them a few times, but there was nothing kind of back to your faith or religion or anything like that, no.
Okay. That's interesting, actually, because sometimes we can take for granted what we have in and around where we live, but actually there's many places, and like Farvinder's just said, where that care and the expertise and the service wouldn't be available. And once you've had it and then you don't have it, that's the struggle, isn't it? If you don't know any different, then that's one thing. But if you've seen something, then it's difficult to kind of go back on yourself with not having that. Does that make sense?
Definitely. So I think about the 4.5 years we were at Royal Infirmary, we didn't really know it existed, the chaplaincy service or Qurtar, but it was about year 2, so about 2016, 2017.
Yeah. When
he was doing his ward rounds. You kind of see posters here and there, but it's not very
you don't really
obvious.
know,
Yeah.
and sometimes it can feel daunting, can't it, to seek out a chaplain, and what would you ask them? It almost feels strange. We've had Sunita Patel message in. Thank you to Farvinder for so generously sharing yours and Mani's story to support our... Oh, this is my boss. Sorry. We've had Sunita Patel, I'm going. Sunita's messaged in. Thank you to Farvinder for so generously sharing yours and Mani's story to support our appeal to create a new spiritual care centre at LRI. It means such a great deal. Well done, Aasiya, on your final show. Oh, thank you. Sunita is our new head of corporate and community fundraising, and we must take you to meet her, actually, Farv. You've not met her yet, but if you do the abseil, then you'll meet her. So that's one more reason to sign up.
One more on there.
Would you recommend the chaplaincy service to other people that are struggling? I know we were just talking about it's daunting to seek it out for yourself. Now that you're a few years on from being in the hospital and from that environment, and dare I say, a few years wiser, older, wiser, a few more years wiser, would you recommend for people to seek out the chaplaincy service at the hospitals if they have to go through something like Mani and yourself did?
Yeah, I definitely would, hand on heart, definitely. And even if it's, I'd say, something that's, I think you could always get some sort of benefit out of it, whether you're part of a religion or not. Like I said, it's just a different mind. You're in the hospital, but you're not.
Yeah.
You're talking to someone from the hospital, but they're nothing to do with the medical side of things.
Yeah.
So I would definitely, and kind of hands down, really, hats off really to the team in Leicester as it kind of stands. All of them are amazing.
Yeah.
To all of them, we've never... kind of every time I've met them, even on the kind of tour they gave us a few months back on what the spiritual care centre will look like, all a really great team.
Yeah.
Really, really great team.
I'll make sure to pass that on if they're not already listening. I know Gurdar likes to hear my voice on the radio, so he's probably listening. In terms of the help that Mani and yourself received from Gurdar and from the team, if that wasn't there, and like you say, in the London hospital, it wasn't readily available in the same form that it was here, do you think Mani's struggles would have been elevated somewhat in terms of not having that release of being able to speak to Gurdar or a hospital chaplain, or having something as simple as the chill out room to go to on Ward 27? If those facilities didn't exist, would it, do you think, have made Mani's life that slight little bit harder while she was in the hospital?
I think definitely they would have made them a bit harder, because I think without them being there, like I said, we'd go to the Gurdwaras and stuff like that. But with Gurdwara, kind of, I guess where we live in England, you've got kind of Western culture, but you're also a traditional culture, and it's someone you could relate more to. Or like we wouldn't really go to a Gurdwara and have an open conversation with our Gyani, or our priest, as we'd say. You just wouldn't. You'd kind of go there, do your prayers, switch off for 10-15 minutes, feel a little refreshed, and kind of come out. But with having someone like Gurdwara there, you can kind of have an open conversation about, not always about religion or the cancer, just about anything, but then tying it all back up. So a massive, and like I said, we were always very strong as a couple, but sometimes when you just want to maybe speak to someone else or have that option was there. And equally with the nurses, she built that relationship as well. So the whole team from that aspect, we always said they're like family. Yeah. And that keeps you going, basically. Family doesn't it, in this situation?
It really does, yeah. And I think, family and like friends are the family that you pick for themselves, as they say. And in this case, it's definitely true. And you soon do realise, the people that are about and there all the time when you're going through something so traumatic and so heart-wrenchingly horrible, that there's people that you can speak to with so much more ease in comparison to even speaking to your own family sometimes. They're well-meaning and everything's there, but it's difficult to have those conversations with certain people over others, like we were mentioning before. In terms of Mani's life outside of the hospital, Farv, because I'm conscious that we speak a lot about, the spiritual care centre and wanting to do the best that we can for the hospitals, but it's important for me and it's important for the listeners to know that, you know, Manny was a whole person. She wasn't just, you know, the cancer didn't define her, and she was what did she like to do? What was she like outside of that hospital environment?
Outside of, even during the cancer and before the cancer, she was just full of life, Manny, all the time, kind of right from, I'll go back to our nursery days. You can even
tell in the pictures, you know, the pictures that you sent us to include in the appeal. You really can, because sometimes you look at a picture and the person looks quite tired of life or in general. No. But Manny doesn't. She doesn't look like that.
She used to have this slogan. She started a vlog once and she wanted to call it Embracing Cancer. Yeah. And she really started embracing the life and try and do what she could outside what so she loved cars, fast cars. That was her go-to. Just get on the motorway, drive for hours, crash a few speed limits. She loved that. She's very career-driven, ambitious. Nothing was ever too much for her. Yeah. She's well loved by all her family and friends. And we still talk about her at our family events because she should be here. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing to move on from, really. Yeah. But yeah, that's all. I wish she was still here, really. But she was just kind of full of life. You'd never even think she had the cancer, most people who met her. Yeah. But yeah, she was just full of life, basically. That's all I can say. Even now I still feel her sometimes and think, what would Manny do in this situation? And you just, of her name, you kind of get a buzz of energy. Yeah. Because that's just the kind of person she was, really. Yeah.
That's really lovely. Yeah. That's really, really lovely. In terms of back to, you know, spiritual care, because we're here for a reason and a purpose, and we want to try and do the best that we can to end this month and Ramadan on a positive note of the fundraising. And I know generally the people of Leicester are extremely generous. So we are fundraising for a spiritual care centre at the Leicester Royal Infirmary. It will house a St Luke's Chapel, which will be built within the grounds of the hospital, but not currently where the chapel is at the moment. The current chapel will turn into a multi-purpose or multi-faith area where there'll be an immersive video screen, LED screens across the wall where you can play whatever it is that you want on there, from images to video and whatever it is, so that people can create and build memories while they're together. A refurbishment of all of the prayer rooms, so the Muslim female and male prayer rooms, the Dharmic faith prayer room, which is Sikh, Hindu, Jain and Buddhist. So that prayer room will be completely refurbished. I have spiritual care centre appeal brochures here in the studio for anybody who would like to pick one up and have a read and have a look. If you'd like a digital copy of it, please email me on aasiya.parekh, asiya.parekh at uhl-tr.nhs.uk, and I'll be more than happy to send you across one. The donation link for the fundraising, Ramadan Radio have pledged to raise £10,000 this year to support this project, and it is creating a space for the community to reflect and pray, and it's forming part and parcel of the healing process for the community that uses our hospitals and our services. To support the appeal with a donation, it's justgiving.com/page/Ramadan Radio 2023. And to join the team and fundraise, so to do something yourself, you might want to do a sponsored walk, a sponsored run. You might want to join Farvinder in an abseil. Yeah. I've announced it publicly now, so we have to do it. You might want to join people in doing the abseil or doing the firewalk. Those are the two events that the charity puts on over the course of the year. You might want to, do an exercise challenge. You might want to skydive for the spiritual care centre or to raise money for the hospitals. To do that, please go to justgiving.com/team/Ramadan Radio 2023. You'll be able to set up your own Just Giving page through there and create a page through the team to fundraise on behalf of Ramadan FM and on behalf of the charity. We've had another message come in. Farvinder, sending you healing prayers and love. Thank you for sharing your experience of going through diagnosis through through to you sadly losing your loved one. This clearly shows how much a holistic environment is needed at this hospital for parents, carers, hospitals and hospital staff to feel supported in a spiritual surrounding at a very difficult time. That's, in a nutshell, isn't it? That's exactly it. From Asma. Asma, I think that's Asma Sidat, who's the mum of Aisha Sidat. Aisha this month has raised an incredible 2,000 and a bit pounds, 2,200 and something pounds, I think she's on, for the Spiritual Care Centre as part of Team Ramadan FM. And she's done an amazing job, and Aisha's, very much in terms of her experiences. She's been in and out of the hospital for all of her life. Asma and Aisha, both of them are huge advocates of the hospital and of the charity. So a huge well done to you, Aisha. Really well done for smashing that target. I've reminded you about the donation link, and we're about 4.5 minutes to the close of the show, which has gone really, really, really fast at the moment, unfortunately, because it's really nice that we're coming to a close, but it's sad at the same time because we won't get to do this again for a whole year. Farv, any last parting words, anything that you'd like to highlight to the community?
No, just dig deep, really. I think it'll make a massive difference. That's all I can. You can't say that message enough, really. And I think one thing that's just come back in my head, so there were times where Manny wasn't allowed to leave the hospital, but they kind of let us just go for a walk around the hospital. We used to kind of call it our date nights.
Aww.
So I think that would have definitely been a spot for us just to have a sit, as around a wall, or as you say, put a movie on. That definitely would have made use of that. Absolutely. And back to your earlier point around the staff, you just can't praise them enough. Patients would kind of die and they'd kind of just be asked to kind of come back in the next day, basically, kind of move on to the next patient, unfortunately. So when these, operations and surgeries and these things happen, I think to have a proper space for them, it's really, really important.
To decompress,
definitely, that we dig
so
deep.
Important.
And just help them, build it for them as well, absolutely, the staff.
Yeah.
As much as the patients and the families.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's imperative that we get this project off the ground and do whatever we can to make it a success and a reality for staff, for patients and for visitors. It's incredibly important to have a team of staff, well looked after staff, both physically and mentally. And you can imagine a medical professional goes through hundreds, if not thousands, of emotions on a daily basis, because you form attachments with your patients, as much as people, would say that they don't. It's absolutely a thing where if you've had a long-term patient, you're going to form an attachment with them on some level or the other. It might not be you speak outside of the hospital, but within that environment, that attachment is there, and it can be very difficult if that person is no longer here, because of whatever might have happened. So please, again, dig deep. Thank you so much, Farvinder, for coming and supporting the appeal since spring 2022, actually, so we're talking about a year now. We've known you. So thank you for putting up with us and for supporting. Thank you for supporting the charity so closely. I just want to end by saying Eid Mubarak to everyone. If it's tomorrow, if it's on Saturday, because Moon Wars are always going on. I don't know if I was supposed to say that, so very sorry if I've offended anyone, but yes, because of Moon Wars, we're not sure if Eid will be on Friday or Saturday, but whatever day you celebrate, please do celebrate safely, be mindful, be generous. I'm always open to Eid. If anybody wants to pass anything along, that's great. But yeah, look after each other. It's a really important time coming out of Ramadan to, bring that community spirit and the wholesomeness of Ramadan out into, Aisha's messaged in, the wholesomeness of Ramadan outside of Ramadan as well as within the month. That's what it's about. It's supposed to be there to improve and better your character. And what better way to do that than post-Eid celebrations. Alhamdulillah, wouldn't have been able to do it without yours and Ramadan FM support. May Allah reward you all. Ameen. Keeping my fundraiser open. It's a much, much, much worthy cause, Aisha Sidat. Thank you so much, Aisha. yeah, so as I was saying, eat, celebrate safely, celebrate really well, eat lots of food. That's not the point, but kind of the point still. And keep us and all of the presenters and the volunteers here at Ramadan FM in your duas. It is a completely voluntary ran radio station. It's done through passion and love and care from everyone who wants to make a difference in the community. So thank you to everyone who supported the station this year. And I hope to meet more of you again next year on the radio if we're still here, inshallah. 5 seconds out now. So see you all soon.